Okay, so I'm not a fan of Mondays. Welcome on the show. Plus Sports on PlusTvAfrica. My name is Wally Scott. Mukayo, so we finally won the game. 2 penalties, can you imagine?
It took 2 penalties.
2 penalties. But there's some good news from the match, yeah? Gernot Rohr has equaled Shuaibu Amadu as the coach with the most games for the Super Eagles in their 2-0 win over Liberia in Tangier, Morocco on Saturday. The game was Rohr's 53rd as Eagles coach, same as Amadu, who had several stints with the national team between 2001 and 2015. Rohr was appointed Eagles coach on August 5, 2016, after stints in Gabon, Niger, and Burkina Faso. The Franco-German replaced Sunday Olise, who resigned as Eagles coach 6 months earlier. His first game in charge of the Eagles was against Tanzania on September 3, 2016, in the final game of the 2017 African Cup of Nations qualifiers, winning 1-0. He went on to win his next 2 games 2-1 against Zambia and 3-1 against Algeria in the 2018 World Cup qualifying games. In his 5 years in charge, Rohr has used a total of 82 players, with vice-captain William Troost Ekong, his most capped player, with 47 games for the national team under the current gaffer, 1 ahead of captain Hamed Musa. Alex Iwobi's third, playing 44 times, while Wilfred Ndidi has played 40 games for the Eagles. Under Rohr to place 4th, ahead of Leon Balogun, who is 5th, with 35 appearances. Odion Ighalo, who made his Eagles return after over 2 years' absence, is Rohr's most prolific striker, with 13 goals, ahead of Osimhen and Iwobi with 9 goals each. Rohr will break the record with the highest number of national teams games managed for Nigeria, where the Eagles host Cape Verde in their final group game of the 2021 AFCON qualifiers at the Teslim Balogun Stadium, Lagos, on Tuesday. All things being equal, Mukail, we should be at that match on Tuesday, but that's just for another day. My little grouse this morning. First of all, congratulations, Gernot Rohr. I'm doing this because I'm supposed to be nice. I really don't care. He spent 5 years as the Super Eagles gaffer. He has been the coach of the Super Eagles for 53 games. If he is the coach, he will be the coach of the Super Eagles tomorrow at Teslim Balogun. It will be 54th. He will be the record-breaking Super Eagles coach ever. I'm not going there. I'm going to the fact that in that 5 years, in 53 games, he has used 82 players. 82. Even coaches who do trial and errors in different clubs and different countries have not used 40 players. 82. Yeah. As in, he hasn't invited 82 players. He has invited more. He has used 82
players. He hasn't, I think we've talked about how it doesn't seem like he has a plan. So we've talked over and over about his tactical understanding of how to set up the team for Nigeria to face whatever opposition we're facing. Sure, that is a big part of a coach's natural expectation of what he should be able to do, what we expect from him to know how to do. But unfortunately, when we talk about the numbers as well, we've talked about the fact that he has a preference for international players abroad.
See, I have nothing against that. People who actually ply their trade abroad, who have standard structures to train with, who have experience, exposure, why not? My point is, in 5 years, 82 players, and you don't have a standard 11 yet? As in, Nigerians can sit down, even you don't have to be a sports analyst like Mukail or Wally. You can sit down at home as a football enthusiast and say, our first 11 is this. And then on the bench will be blah, blah, blah. And you almost be right.
The fact is,
in 5 years.
The fact is, some national teams don't even have up to 82 players to call upon.
Exactly.
Ever in their history. And unfortunately, we clearly have plenty of talent on different areas of the pitch, in different parts of the European continent, some even in Asia, in the Middle East. And unfortunately, it's like Gernot Rohr feels he has to use every single one of them.
I look at teams like big teams who are highly ranked by FIFA, Czech Republic, Belgium. They don't have the luxury of 40 players to invite. They don't.
Who is right now, if we ask ourselves, who is our main playmaker in midfield?
I have no idea.
Who is our
Okay, supposed to be Wilfred Ndidi.
But how can our main defensive midfielder be our main playmaker in midfield?
I don't know.
It begs the question.
It
begs the question. Other than our two strikers, Nacho and Victor Osimhen, we have no real clarity on who any of the other parts of the pitch, who is the first choice every time in every opportunity.
I think our strike force is the only constant thing. Alex Iwobi, Chukwueze, Onuachu sometimes, but definitely Iheanacho and Osimhen.
And even with Alex Iwobi, we've had complaints about the fact that Alex hasn't quite lived up to the expectations he had on his head from his days in Arsenal. And it feels every time we talk about this, the only place where he has a guarantee to play with some level of regularity is with the national team. With his Everton club, sometimes the manager who's in there favors him, other times not so much. He hasn't put up enough numbers, goals, assists. We're waiting for Alex Iwobi to step up. But what is Gernot Rohr doing to improve these players? If he was on his own improving these players,
for his team,
he wouldn't need 82 players.
Ooh. Well, but on the flip mode though, somebody was talking to me, called me and said, Wally, we will beat them Liberia 2 goals, and that did we need penalties to beat them? And I explained to myself, listen, when a team gets penalties against the opponent, it means they were pressurizing the team. Pressure brings penalties.
Yes.
So love it or leave it, you can't take it away. The Super Eagles must have played, I didn't watch the match, must have played well to have gotten 2 penalties off that game. However, they've beaten Liberia. If we win the match tomorrow at Teslim in Surulere tomorrow, we've qualified. We're through.
But we're right.
Can we beat Cape Verde?
The truth is, I'm not sure because
nobody is really.
This morning, I was thinking back to last night. Portugal were in the exact same position, the exact same boat as us, in a position at home to win against a team that had never beaten them ever. And the stronger team was clearly the home team, and yet everything went the way it did. Portugal are now in the playoffs. Nigeria are in the similar boat. We're going up against a team that we ought to beat, no problems. We are playing at home. Confidence should be high, but the truth is no one feels 100% confident about the results for Nigeria. Not even the Gernot Rohr, the coach. So if we stumble in this match, I say Gernot Rohr leaves. Wow. I say he should leave.
This is the first time ever you've actually been so firm about the fact that this person should go. You never say that. Well, I don't know if you think Gernot Rohr should leave, but so far so good is our coach for now. And for some reason, he's playing ball with the powers that be. Our powers that be are not that patient, but with Gernot Rohr, they've been very, very patient.
They might be patient, but if Gernot Rohr has any sort of pride in his own abilities, if he has any sort of pride in the fact that he's managing a national team that probably over 60% of the population doesn't think he's good to manage it, is good enough to manage the team, then for his own pride, for his own sensibilities, he ought to leave if tomorrow the results don't turn out right.
Okay, now we well, like somebody said, I like women. Maybe I do. I follow the English Women's Super League these days, and it was Everton against Manchester United over the weekend. It was 1-1. So Everton picked up their first goal and point on the new boss Jean-Luc Vasseur against Manchester United after a 1-1 draw in the Women's Super League. A terrific goal from Ella to one put United ahead, but a few terrible defensive errors handed Simone McGill a late equalizer for Everton. The draw ended a run of 2 successive Women's Super League defeats for Everton, who are 10th, while Manchester United remain 5th. I think we're closing up to the last period of tennis tourneys for the year. And a few people have actually tickled their fancy based on the fact that the Andy Murray always had a flash in the pan somewhere around, but we didn't see Djokovic. The big boys are resting and saying, okay, good. Small ones, make your way, We didn't see Federer too much. We didn't see Nadal too much.
Yes.
Oh, we saw rising stars. Daniel Medvedev, Hurckacz, and the rest of them, coming.
So I think this year has been definitely a big revelation, coming off the back of 2020 being the pandemic year where tennis players and all other athletes were having to be cooped up at home, unable to really fulfill their career path, entertain us. They were having to do exercises and routines, get together with their coaches at home in private establishments. And now it feels like stars we might have seen in 2020 or stars who might not have had the opportunity because the big dogs were still
always
involved, have now had, shall we say, a year to prepare to catch up. A year older, a year stronger.
True.
A more talented, more technically gifted. The skill set, the skill level they're demonstrating at this point definitely promises that in the next 5 years, when obviously we expect probably Djokovic, Nadal, Federer to all be gone, and probably even Murray, who is a flash in the pan, as you say, when these athletes are all gone, we will have a new breed of talented players.
Very talented.
But we might have 10, as much as 10, dominating for a long time, but none of them clearing the path and going forward and being the dominant one for the next. I don't think we're going to see another tennis player who's going to have as much as 15 major titles.
I don't see
for the next 10 to 20 years. I don't believe
somebody could come and
because
I don't see that.
Because the truth is, we still have players who are not regular winners. They're not big name winners. Tiafoe, for example, isn't a big regular
per se,
but he will still be in and around there for the next 5 to 10 years, still competing with the Medvedev, Berrettini, Zverev, and Tsitsipas. He will likely win 1 or 2 major titles, but will not dominate because these talented players are going to be constantly vying for the same titles.
Let's look at the game for now. It's world number 2 Daniel Medvedev, who came from a set down to power past ATP Finals debutant Hubert Hurckacz 6-7, 5, 6-3, 6-4, and gets his title defense off to a winning start in Turin yesterday. Now, Russian Medvedev, who won the US Open title in September for his maiden Grand Slam crown, allowed his Polish opponent to take the early advantage in the season-ending event following a tight tiebreaker, but responded in style. 25-year-old fired 15 aces to Hurkacz's 12 and converted 2 break points on a fast court to seal victory in the red group ahead of potentially tricky challenges against Germany's Alexander Zverev and Wimbledon runner-up Matthew Berrettini. Medvedev showed glimpses of the form that helped him beat Novak Djokovic, Rafael Nadal, and Dominic Thiem en route to the title in London last year as he went up to a 3-love in the second set after an early break. Good game from Medvedev, and of course, these men are climbing gradually. But of course, this is what everybody's talking about. The Cleveland Cavaliers overcame a 19-point deficit to beat Boston Celtics 91-89 in the NBA. Rising star Evan Mobley scored 12 points in the last quarter out of 19 overall as the home side staged a memorable comeback. Dennis Schroeder had 28 points for the Celtics. The Cavs improved to 9-5 with the Celtics falling below 500 to be 6-7. Okay, now Cleveland Cavaliers. The stuff the champions are made of. Boston Celtics or Tabiobia, they got back at them.
Yes.
In 19 points deficit.
Cleveland are back in 4th now in the Eastern Conference. And obviously the season is still very brand new. Even the likes of the Lakers, Miami, even Golden State have all dropped points along the way. Boston dropped their first 2 games and then, picked up their third. And everyone is finding their feet in a new season that still seems like surreal for them. It's like it's as though they're playing in a season where the pandemic recently just happened. And that's exactly what we're getting. So come middle of the season, come deeper into the season, we'll definitely see where the real contenders for the title at the end, for the championship at the end of the season will stand. Cleveland will probably be amongst the
no doubt
very big
now
options.
ordinarily what we do is that when we talk about GOATs, greatest of all times, you know, what comes to mind for most sports fans in Lagos is, or Nigeria is, Lionel Messi, Ronaldo, a GOAT, LeBron James. You know, nobody looks towards Lewis Hamilton. As at 48 hours ago, he was 20th in the Sao Paulo Grand Prix. He was 20 on the log, and he had punishments. He was being disciplined for different things.
19 points behind
19
Verstappen.
points behind Verstappen. And then I slept. I woke up in the morning. He was 11. And by 11, he had already taken over. He had already worked for his punishment. It was true. So 11 points behind 11th on the log. About 9 points or 10 points behind Verstappen. And the whole world is saying Verstappen, for the first time in a long time, will get the better of Lewis Hamilton. And then I slept a little on a Sunday. I woke up in the evening on Sunday. He was number 1. See, nobody does that. He was 20th with punishment 48 hours ago.
You know, I can only imagine how annoying it must be for someone like Verstappen to be the perennial number 2.
Forever and ever. Amen. Till he finishes his
in
career.
your era, that you're better than everybody else, but you're still
But
just
if it's not
good
something
enough.
else, ordinarily Verstappen should have taken this one home.
Maybe.
Because as at 48 hours, 2 days ago, he was on 20th. Verstappen was 19 points ahead of him.
Who even knows whether the fact that the punishment levied against Hamilton damaged the level of competitive thinking? Because sometimes you go into a match, a race, with the expectation that you're competing with your peers. But when you aren't competing with your peers, you take your foot off the pedal.
Exactly.
And you slow down, and you don't anticipate that someone is weaving through the pack and making their way up to you.
Wow. 7 times world champion Lewis Hamilton hunted down Max Verstappen to win the Sao Paulo Grand Prix Mercedes on Sunday and slash his Red Bull rivals' Formula One lead to 14 points with 3 races remaining. Verstappen finished second with Valtteri Bottas, third for Mercedes on an astonishing, controversial and roller coaster weekend in Brazil that will go down as one of Hamilton's greatest and most satisfying drives. The Briton was fastest in Friday qualifying at Interlagos for Saturday's sprint that set Sunday's grid and then demoted to the back of the field after his car's rear wing failed a technical inspection. He went from 20th to 5th on Saturday, dropping back to 10th on Sunday's grid after an engine penalty, but hungry for much more. The rest was history, as 36-year-old took his 3rd win in Brazil and set a record for victory in Brazil from the lowest grid position, beating Italian Giancarlo Fisichella 2003 win from 8th. The win was Hamilton's 6th of the season and record-extending 101st of his career. This guy was punished twice. First of all, he was taken to the end of the grid, 20th. He came back to 5th. He was returned back to 10th again. And he said he was thinking Max was gone already. Max didn't go anywhere. He came back and ended this Grand Prix first.
You know, this story, it's funny because obviously these are races. When each race of the season gives them points, which determines their placement at the grid. The more points you have, the higher up the grid you start the race. But when you're as good as Hamilton, when you're the best, it really doesn't matter. That's what this story has proven. Yeah. You can still make it to the very top. And
doesn't matter how far you are. If you are good, talented, and actually you work at it, you come back to the top.
It actually makes me think that this should be the new rule. Just like in basketball, where the call-ups for new players every season is the person with the best option to pick, first-round picks, is the team that did poorest last
Exactly.
season. So now, what if this rule were to change for F1, where the better your points, the lower you start in the grid?
Somebody gives you gap.
Yes.
Yes, that will.
Certainly more competitive.
Hamilton would like it right now.
Yeah, certainly more competitive. But even if Hamilton wouldn't like the rule change, he enjoyed the race more.
He'll still come back.
He enjoyed the race more because of the difficulty it took.
Even when Hamilton won a regular race, I've never seen a green like this on his face
because
in a long time.
He felt like he earned it.
Yeah, I earned it.
Yes, much more than he has in a long, long time. He has been in a privileged position on the grid for so long that he constantly has the fact that he has the best engine in F1. He's the best driver. Of course, he should win. We expect him to win, and he has broken records.
Well, this record he has broken is out of the world. The only person who's come near it, 2003, was Fischella, the Italian, and it was 8th. He's coming from 20.
Legends will be legends.
Wow.
Legends will be legends.
Australia. Okay, we're talking cricket on the show on Saturday.
Yes.
And I know Sheun Ajidagba and Aki Denton. Aki Denton is the chairman Cricket League of Lagos. Was saying that he was wishing his heart wants Australia to win, or New Zealand to win this one, because they've never won it before.
Well, wishes, if we could bottle wishes, certainly we would be the richest people on the planet.
True. Because New Zealand have gotten to the finals, I think, more than 1 million times.
But
they got to the finals again, and Australia still beats them. They are perennial number 2s, like you said about Verstappen.
Yes. Australia
defeated New Zealand by 8 wickets to win their maiden 2020 World Cup title. Now, having restricted New Zealand to 172-4, Australia reached their target with 7 balls to spare after a brilliant batting display. Opening batter David Warner scored 53 of 38 balls, while Mitchell Marsh remained unbeaten on 77 from 50 deliveries to see Australia through and spark wild celebrations among his teammates. New Zealand captain Kane Williamson earlier led by example with a whirlwind 85 of 48 balls to power his team to 172-4 at the Dubai International Stadium. New Zealand couldn't break that jinx. Australia make it happen again. The T20 champions, World Cup champions of 2022. Thank you, Mikhail.
Thank you.
That's all we can take on the show today. Plus Sports and Plus TV Africa. Join us same time tomorrow, same station. My name is Wale Scott. Like I always advise you at the end of every show, if not for anything, at least for your heart, do some sports.